I appreciate you being here. This is, I think, number 7 or 8 of the town hall meetings we've been having across New York, and we're going to continue to do it. And I'll tell you this, when I'm governor of the state of New York, we're going to do the same thing. I think that you deserve an opportunity always to tell your elected officials what you think and to ask questions so you can hold them accountable. And I think for too long, this governor in particular has been able to get away with making decisions that have real impacts on all of us, but never quite being held accountable for them. Now, I know I'm running against somebody, so at some point tonight I'm going to have to tell you why I think he shouldn't be reelected. But let me tell you a little bit about myself, a little bit about what I think. And then what I'd like to do is give you an opportunity to ask questions. And there are very few elected officials who are willing to stand in front of an audience and just take sort of open-ended questions. But I have this fellow over here, and he likes to protect me. So if the questions get too hard, we're going to have him answer them. No. So for those of you who don't know, I have spent now 7 years as county executive in Dutchess County. I spent 6 years in the New York State Assembly, where most good ideas go to die. In fact, I wish more ideas would go to the New York State Assembly and die. But prior to that, 12 years as a village mayor. So if you don't know this, I was elected mayor of my hometown, the village of Tivoli. 1,300 residents. We are not all related, but we're very close. 1,300 residents, and I was elected mayor of my hometown in 1995. If you're doing any amount of math with me, you might think that I was very young, and that's because I was. I was elected mayor at the age of 19. I fell in love with public service as a young kid. Volunteered and worked in my hometown. Always had 3 jobs. But when I was elected mayor, I learned the value of public service. At that level of service, right, you're right there in front of the people you serve. You know, as a council member or a village trustee or a village mayor, you know, you get hit from every side on any issues. And you learn very early on that you can say to a resident who's got a concern, you know, maybe it's not my level of responsibility. You can say to them, no, it's not my job. Call your senator, call your congressman, they'll take care of it. Or you can say, let's figure out how to solve your problem. I took that approach. And as a village mayor, I spent 12 years serving my community, trying to make government help the people where to serve. I'll tell you also, in my level of government, you serve without party affiliation, which I dare say in this place, but you serve without party affiliation. And you begin to realize very early on and very, very quickly that when the roof leaks, it leaks on Republicans and Democrats. And the job of the elected official is to fix the roof. And you learn that. 12 years as a village mayor, 6 years in the New York State Assembly, and as I said, 7 now as county executive. When I came into office in Dutchess, I had inherited a $40 million budget gap. Bond rating downgrading, if you know anything about that, it's like your credit report. The county's credit rating had decreased, and we were in the throes of that great recession. So we went right to work. And when I got into office, I said to unionized employees, I said to department heads, I said to elected officials, we have got to right the ship. We've got to make this county strong again. And we focused on consolidating government, we made it more efficient, we made it more effective, and we turned that $40 million budget gap into a $20 million surplus. And as I joke, but truly, for the last 4 years, have been able to provide property tax relief each of the last 4 years of county government. And we now maintain the 2nd highest bond rating of any county in the state. Why? Why is that important? Because it says very clearly what our responsibility is. Our responsibility in government is to protect you from crime, protect you from natural disasters, to serve and to protect you and your communities financially. And one of the things that we've seen over the last 7 years of this governor and this government is New Yorkers today shoulder the highest burden of taxation of any people in America. We carry the highest burden of property taxation of any people in America. And this governor and his policies are steering New York State to an $18 billion budget deficit. At the same time, we see that New York has among the highest number of deteriorating roadways and infrastructure and highway. We see the MTA with another bond rating downgrade heading towards a death spiral, and the governor wanting to blame the mayor for that, even though it is New York State's responsibility. And because of all of that, because we spend more than we should, because we tax more than you can afford, New York continues to lead the nation in out-migration. More people, and you know this on Long Island, more people leave New York to other parts of the country than any state in America. Why? Because they're too expensive. And while the governor talks a lot about keeping families together, his policies and our economics here in New York continue to break up families. Where grandparents, if you can afford to, decide to retire someplace else because we're the least friendly place to retire in America. Young people who go off to college here in New York because when they graduate, there aren't those job opportunities. We lose more and more 18 to 40-year-olds in other parts of the country than any state in America. And we have grandparents and parents watching their kids and grandkids grow up on television or computer screens. Why? Because our state government didn't learn what I learned as a village mayor. The job is to fix the problem. And for the last 8 years, this can has been kicked down the road, and we continue to see more spending, more taxing, and less investment in the things that actually matter to actual New Yorkers every day. And I think enough is enough. Over the last 8 years, New York's lost 1 million people, 1 million New Yorkers to other parts of the country. And this governor seems to spend a great deal of time arguing and yelling about the president, saying that, oh, this is us between us and the rest of America. In fact, this week he said something other than what he said. He also said that this president just fooled America. So in other words, they're not smart enough, based on the governor, to make up their own decisions. That's a very complimentary thing to say about people who call this country home. But nevertheless, he spends a lot of time saying, the rest of America, we're the last thing standing between us and the rest of America. And I keep saying to people, well, there must be something right in the rest of America because so many New Yorkers are moving there. So this is a man who 8 years ago said to Republicans and conservatives like many of you that he's one of us. And then 4 years ago he said, if you're too far to the right of center, you've got no place in New York. And as if that weren't bad enough, in April, when you and I were paying our taxes, the governor stood in front of New Yorkers and said, I'm just an average middle-class New Yorker, raised by immigrant middle-class New Yorkers, struggling to pay his taxes. Well, none of that is true. And I thought that was bad enough until last week. Listen, I don't know if he was trying to curry favor at a primary or if he said what he believes, but he said it. He said it. He said America was never that great. America was never that great, he said. This is a country that afforded his parents great opportunity. This is a country that made his father ultimately governor of the state of New York. His father said he was the governor of the greatest state and the greatest nation on earth. I don't know from when he said that to last week, it became okay for elected officials to dismiss and disregard the history of this nation. I was born to a mother who was single for a number of years. My parents divorced when I was a kid. Food stamps put breakfast on our table for a number of years. And my mom made it perfectly clear that we were given an opportunity to make good. We had to work hard. My mother worked hard. She babysat. I admit to you, if somebody's here taking video, although some of you are, my mother probably worked off the books, like so many other struggling New Yorkers, because they couldn't possibly either find a job or make it work otherwise to afford it. My mom worked hard and taught us to work hard. This is a nation and a state that enabled her to pull herself up and to teach her boys, two of whom are successful, and the third is running for governor of the state of New York. This is a nation that allowed a kid who grew up on food stamps to be perhaps the most ordinary candidate to ever run for governor of the state of New York, and I am damn proud of it. We are not perfect, and we never will be, but it is the promise of this nation, the potential of this nation, and the people of America that have always defined and redefined it, made and remade it, and that, Governor, is why we have always been great. For those of you watching at home, Ellen has asked what you can do to help me win, which is my favorite question. First, let me tell you that I actually believe that you win one neighborhood, one vote at a time. So every individual vote matters to me. Do not think that you are not important. Let me offer you, though, on the issue of mandates, please understand, the governor and others, and there are plenty of others, who say property taxes, that's not a state issue, they say. But the truth of the matter is this state forces more of its spending onto local property taxpayers than any state in the country. And the biggest example is Medicaid. I won't go there now, but to say to you on education, what we consistently do is mandate everything that you need to do at the local level, and then we take your money and don't give it back to you. And what that does is arbitrarily and unnecessarily increase local property taxes. And that needs to be confronted. Now here's the thing. So I was in the state legislature when we adopted the property tax cap, and I will tell you, I believe in it, and it should be made permanent.